Hi, everybody. My name is Susan, and I was assigned Suggestopedia for the language teaching or method approach. It was, I guess part of the definition. It was developed in the 1970s by a Bulgarian psychologist named Georgi Lazanov. However, it's interesting because a lot of the sources that I looked up also claims that he is American. Our textbook says Bulgarian, so I'm going to go with that. Okay, so by definition, this teaching method or approach is rooted in the belief that great quantities of information could be processed by the human brain in an optimal condition. So what do they mean by optimal condition? They mean that when you have lower blood pressure and a lower heart rate, you are able to produce optimal brain waves for information retention. So by creating a relaxing environment for learners, barriers would be reduced enough to enhance brain performance to remember the content that's being taught. So lots to retain in the brain when you're relaxed. So the features is that the classroom environment is very much not like your typical classroom environment. So the chairs are very comfortable. They're arranged much like a friendly gathering of friends. There are positive affirmations, maybe posters or literature that's on the walls, and specific classic music is played in the background during selected parts of the lesson. And some of the sources that I researched even went as far as to say that the learners are assigned new identities so that they're walking in with a fresh perspective and a fresh insight that will allow them to be able to succeed in a new environment and not bring in any of their old habits or old perceptions of success. So it's all around the learner's comfort and around setting them up for success. So typical classroom activities are things like role plays and readings, repetition drills, conversation, vocabulary lessons. There's a lot of literary passages that are used in this approach where the learners will quietly listen in a state of relaxation to the teacher read the passage. So it's very rooted. It has a lot of literary passages that they use to teach the content. So the strengths are that it offers learners a low stress, a low anxiety environment, and that the relaxation states really can help to create those favorable conditions for your brain and body to be in an optimal learning space. However, if we look on the flip side, it really is based on an assumption that relaxation will allow us to retain and that we can actually reach that state. The curriculum is very structured without a lot of flexibility. It is teacher-led. It relies very heavily on the teacher to be the leader of the classroom and of the activities. So for those learners who require an alternate way of learning, maybe at their own pace or by methods of their own inquiry, this might not be the best avenue for them to learn another language. And as well, let's face it, comfy chairs and relaxing music are a great recipe for sleep. So this method might get old a little fast. So here is what a sample lesson would look like. I kind of use the titles as my own interpretation of what the section of the lesson would be called. And in parentheses or in quotation, I quoted the website at the end. His name escapes me, but I quoted that website for the sample lesson structure. So the first part I called the introduction, but really the Suggestopedia method listed as the prelude. So the teacher is going to introduce the passage and the content of the lesson. So in essence, if the lesson was about the past tense and past tense forms, the teacher would present all of the concepts that were going to be presented in that lesson. So in essence, the teacher's giving the answers at the beginning of the session of all the concepts that are contained within that day's content. So they're really setting you up so that you know what you're talking about. So the first part, I put it in quotations, they call it the first concert reading. So the teacher would read and act out the passage to the class whenever possible, with Baroque music playing softly in the background so that we can get that state of relaxation. So the teacher, again, would lead this part and act out when they can the parts of the passage that they are reading. So again, your learners are listening in a very quiet and relaxed state. The next part, which does not have music, I think the music stops here, the teacher will decipher the passage for comprehension. So they're going to point out the points of interest or the content that they're targeting and give the learners helpful hints or what they call hooks so that they can remember and understand the language and the concepts being presented in that passage. The next part, they called activation. I call it games and fun stuff because really that's what it's about. But the method goes on to say that this is where there's a series of rapid, fast-paced language activities that would be planned for the class. So for example, there would be like passing the ball around while saying the vocabulary, or playing card games, or I cited maybe playing Pictionary, a competitive game. The instructor of one of the videos I watched also cited knock-knock jokes and jokes that use puns and double meanings because it works different parts of your brain. So in the activation section, it's a series of rapid, fast-paced language activities pertaining to the content already learned that the learners would be engaging in so that they can activate their skills or activate that content that has been absorbed by the brain. And last but not least, the last part of the lesson, aptly named the relaxation concert. It's right at the end. Again, they are going to play classical music that's very prescribed. It goes by how many beats per second it is. So they're going to consolidate all of the skills that they learned that session at the end while playing soft music. So the teacher, for example, one of the activities is that the teacher might read the passage and the learner may reenact parts of the passage as the teacher reads. So that's kind of a nice way to end everything. And that is what I learned about Suggestopedia. And the main source that I got that from was from a YouTube video by Lonnie Gold, and the developer is David the Harper. So it was very interesting. But apart from our textbook and a few other videos, that was the content that I got for Suggestopedia. So thanks for listening, and we'll see you in the chat.